Hare Krishna, we are going to do Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse number 5, 6 and 7. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. Translation, chapter 8, verse 5. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So what is Krishna telling to Arjuna? That whoever at the end of life, when we have to leave our body, if we remember Krishna, alone, if we remember Krishna, then we will attain Krishna. We will get Krishna's nature. We may go to Vaikuntha, or we may go to Goloka, depending on our nature, depending on where we're supposed to go, from where we came. So at the end, remembering Krishna is a big challenge. Once what happened, he was a businessman. He was so much, interested in money making, but he knew, olden days people knew that at the time while leaving the body, we should remember and chant Krishna's name. Then we'll go back to Krishna's house. He was thinking, all my life I will enjoy making money. Only by the time of death comes, I will call out Krishna's name. But he knew it's not so easy. That's why when he got sons, he named them Keshava, Madhava, Ram and Krishna. This is just a joke. Named Keshava, Madhava, Ram and Krishna. He was a businessman. And then, he was cool. He was into his business, making money, enjoying life. And he didn't ever bother about Krishna. Krishna didn't bother about him. And then when the time to die came, his idea was when he dies, he will call out naturally his children's name to put some water in the mouth. So he will naturally call children's name, like Ajamila also. He called his son Narayana. He was a good Brahmana. He saw a prostitute and he left his wife and good children, and a good Brahmana became horrible than the lower born person, actually lower caste person. So then he became a drunkard and meat eater and spending all his time with that lady, and he got many children. He was suffering, he was on the deathbed. So when the Yamadutas came to pull his life out of his body, he saw his little son Narayana and said, Narayana, Narayana. And then what happened? Then Narayana Dutas came and they started telling, hey, you go, she is our property, because Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Because when he is leaving the body, he called Krishna's name, Narayana's name. So he is our property and we are taking him, So like that, this man also thought that last minute I will call my son's name, anyone's name if I call also, I'll go back to God. Whether it is Keshava, Madhava or, Rama or Krishna. So, when the time to die came, he called out, Keshava, Madhava, Krishna, Rama. All four sons came running. They loved their father so much, they all came running. And then he looked at him, Hare, all four of you came. What will happen to the business? Dead. When he said, all four of you came, what will happen to the business? He died. See, so the last word was business. You get it? So, since he was all the time living only for his business, he left the body calling out the word business. So, all throughout the life we chant Krishna's name. All throughout the life we think of, doing our activities for the pleasure of Krishna. Let me tell you honestly, I learned that we have to do all the duties for the pleasure of Krishna in the year 2003. Since then, I am telling everybody. They said it's a secret, top secret, all the duties you must do to please Krishna. And they said, even if you tell it in open marketplace, people will either not hear, or if they hear, they will not remember. If they even remember, they may not even follow it. Okay? Only deserving people will hear the secret, remember the secret and follow the secret. So since 2003 till now, I am trying my best to do all activities for the pleasure of Krishna, but not happening. I'm telling you honestly, I forget the minute now I'm supposed to be speaking, Bhagavad Gita for the pleasure of Krishna. But only when I'm telling that, I'm talking for the pleasure of Krishna. But once we enter into the topic and I start speaking, I forget about pleasing Krishna and I'm focused on, explaining the topic. I am indulged in explaining the topic and the mood, for pleasing Krishna is forgotten. So it is so difficult. It is so simple but so difficult to practically apply unless we have that love for Krishna. And love for Krishna comes when we are fully grateful to Krishna. For every breath of our life, for every situation, good or bad, if we are seeing all as good because it is given by, it is allowed, it is sanctioned by the Lord, then all our activities, we will be very grateful. And if we are grateful, we will have love. If we have love, we will very naturally do activities to please Krishna. So till we come to that stage, at least we can remember and we can keep trying. So it is so difficult. So it needs a lifetime's practice trying to please Krishna. Then by His mercy, we have to remember Krishna and call out Krishna's name alone when we are leaving the body. Then we will go back to God. What he says in the next verse, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Translation: whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Just as I was telling in the previous story, like a businessman, at the end he uttered business. So next Janma, again he will become as a businessman or a servant of the businessman. If he is not given enough charity, he will not get so much of income. So our today's income is based on what we have donated in our last birth. So if he has donated enough, then he will come as a probably rich businessman once again. But if he never donated, then he may be born as a servant in the businessman's house. So where only business is going to be spoken. So like that means whatever we are thinking at the time of death, suppose if we are thinking, oh my wife, what will she do after I leave the body? We get female body because we thought of the wife. But that's why they say, if the wife is dying first, if she is leaving the body first before the husband, then if she thinks, oh my husband, who will take care of him? So she will get a male body. So with male body, the body itself has an influence on the mind. It has little more of Sattva Guna influence. So people with Sattva Guna can, one step ahead is above Sattva, Shuddha Sattva platform. They can just with little effort, they can go to Shuddha Sattva platform. But with female body, the more of Rajoguna influence is there, Tamoguna influence is there. So we have to really fight with Tamoguna and be stable in Rajoguna. Then we have to fight and quit Rajoguna and we have to come to Sattva Guna. And then from Sattva, we have to go to Shuddha Sattva. Therefore, to have a male body is more easier, to get into spiritual life generally. But sometimes the souls with women body can also be equally good, says Bhagavad Gita. Striya Shudra Tata Vaishya, whether it is a woman, whether it's a Shudra, or whether it's a businessman, anyone, if they are sincerely trying to be Krishna conscious, they can really go back to Godhead. That Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So whatever we think of when we leave the body, we get that state, the next body. The next verse says, that is verse number 7 of chapter 8. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha mayyarpita mano buddhir mame vaishyasya samshayaha. Translation, chapter 8, verse number 7. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You'll attain me without doubt. See, in the battlefield, when he's shooting, there will be so many arrows coming. How to remember Krishna, how to please Krishna. So here Krishna is telling that, you have to keep fighting, and that too how you should fight, while always thinking of Krishna. So in the battlefield, if Krishna is asking Arjuna to think of Krishna and shoot the arrows, then we are no exception, We have to somehow, if we cannot remember Krishna, if we cannot, do things with the mood of pleasing Krishna, that means we lack sincerity. We have to put sincere efforts. So let us all try. Even I lack that. That's why I'm telling you all, it's not easy. Let us become, more sincere and more prayerful. And let us be more humble in front of Guru and beg for mercy every time we see our Guru and the Vaishnavas, so that we may do things to please Krishna. Then what happens? Then by all their mercy, then we will be able to do every activity to please Krishna. So then, if we can do all the activities remembering Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna, then with your activities dedicated to me, your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me. We will go back to Godhead for sure. Now, one small example is, if you are married, if you have married someone whom you like to marry, or even if your parents suggested, if you are happy to marry, then on the previous day of marriage, we'll be only thinking that tomorrow is my marriage. Tomorrow is my marriage. And then, people who will come and say, oh, how are you? Oh, tomorrow is your marriage. All the best. We will say, oh, thank you. We will smile at them. But our heart is totally glued to our tomorrow's, husband or tomorrow's wife who is going to come into our life. Are so fully focused on that. But outwardly we are doing all the duties perfectly. Inwardly we are lost in thoughts. So like that, we have to be lost in thoughts of Krishna when we are doing the duty, for which we have to have so much interest in Krishna. For developing that interest, we have to hear from devotees who have that love and affection for Krishna, who are living for Krishna. From their association and from their mercy, we have to beg all devotees, please bless me that I may get some Krishna prem, that I may live to serve Krishna. If we can beg mercy, if we can pray to Krishna, if we can strive hard, then yes, compared to 2003, now I have little bit, extra, remembrance to do things to please Krishna. I remember for a little more time. So like this, let us endeavor, and I ask your blessings also, so that I may be totally doing things to please Krishna in future. Hare Krishna.